Forza Horizon 2, David Scammell. Talk to me about it.
Well, Forza. I mean,
I thought it was Forza. That's how the internet likes to say it.
Well, some of the dev team don't say Forza.
Oh god, this is like the GIF thing all over again.
I don't even know anymore. I think officially it is Forza.
Okay,
but
we'll go with that.
I'm going to go with Forza today because that's
right.
how I've been saying it for years.
Well, is Forza Horizon 2 a good video game, David?
It's a great video game, bros.
You played about an hour?
Played about an hour so far, yeah. So, and the opening is fantastic. Like the first 10 minutes or so. So it opens with this kind of amazing cinematic to really try and get you into that party vibe. It's young people dancing about. It has a narrator, and I can't remember if she's counting up from 1 to 10 or down from 10 to 1.
Right.
But she's talking about at 10 you'll be in Horizon, and she's basically making out you'll be in ecstasy. Okay. It's amazing. It's that kind of young party goer. Well, I was going to say drug abusing people, but that's not. Is
this just you playing this to try and go back to your heyday? Is that?
I feel so old after playing this game. But you know what? So it has that cinematic, and you end up coming into the port on this. I think it's South France you start in, or around that area. And you do this initial event, which is you driving from the port all around the coastline up through to the Horizon Festival, which is kind of further into the mainland.
Where the party's going on.
Exactly, and it's a really nice way to start the game. You're in this really fast car, and just that classic great video game thing of making you... I don't know, it's a great intro. Now, whether it can continue that party vibe...
Right, okay, I think we're going to have to stop saying party vibe, because I'm already fed up with party vibes.
But that's exactly what they're trying to deliver. In the first hour, they're trying to get... So, you go to... the Horizon area, and you meet characters. Now, the original Horizon did this a little bit, but it has these almost mini cutscenes where you're out of the car and you meet other people, and it feels a little bit Need for Speedy.
Right.
But they're all like, oh man, I was out so late last night. They're all these
these characters already.
Yeah, I'm not sure about it. I mean, they're all British as well.
Oh,
and it
I
feels a little bit... I don't know. I'm not sure about it, that side of it.
Okay.
But the actual racing is great. The actual car models look really nice, and the dynamic weather when it starts to rain, the rain sort of flowing down your bonnet if you're playing, not flowing down, but as it races up.
Oh yeah, I hear.
You know, it looks really nice, but there's a little bit. It feels like it lacks a little bit of detail in the actual game world. It feels a bit.
That was a complaint with the original Horizon, right? It was big open world, but sometimes felt a bit empty.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't really played enough to determine whether it feels super empty or not. Yeah. But I'm talking in terms of like asset wise.
Oh, okay, right.
I wouldn't say the game world itself looked particularly better than the original Horizon. Okay. I think it's a little bit more interesting. Because the original one was basically a canyon with a few little villages around it. And this one's kind of similar, but the foliage doesn't look particularly great. I don't know. When you compare it to games like Drive Club, which clearly look next-gen, Forza's cars look terrific, they look amazing, but I'm not convinced about the rest of the detail. But no, I mean, the emphasis on Horizon 2 really is the fun side of it. If you think of it as kind of PGR, but out of the city, like in a rural area, so I can't remember what they're called, but they're basically kudos points where you drift and things like that, and you're constantly earning XP and
okay, for someone like me that isn't quite as up to date with the racing genre,
the racing scene.
Yeah, motorsport is more of your racing sim.
Motorsport's a sim.
Horizon more arcadey fun.
And Horizon, you know, it uses the physics to an extent, but it's more about swinging the back end out and driving around corners at high speeds and having a bit of fun with it. Really, it's the Need for Speed to Gran Turismo essentially. Okay. So it's still kind of realistic. It doesn't feel, you know, it's not super drifty and super unbelievable, but yeah, it places the emphasis more on fun, whereas motorsport is a little bit more static and grounded and. I don't know. Both are fine if you're into it, but it's one thing that's confused me because Forza Motorsport fans are not the type of people that I would think would like Horizon.
Yeah.
And it's like two conflicting directions for the same series.
Yeah.
And that's fine. Like, that's what spin-offs do, right? But Yeah, I mean, people, if you've played the first Horizon, and this is probably one of my main complaints of what I've seen so far, if you've played the first Horizon, you'll know exactly what Horizon 2 is.
Yep.
It feels like that, but bigger.
Same setup
and
with
more
the way
stuff.
the races work. And
Yeah, I mean, so it's not very clear at the moment exactly how it works, but there's this big open world, and it seems to be divided by what they call road trips. So initially you start off in this area, and I can't remember the name of the area, and you have access to 3 races, I think. You complete those races, and then you go on a road trip to another new area. And I can't tell if each area is isolated and you do races within that area at the same time and move on to the next,
Yep.
or whether you can go back and forth between the different areas. I didn't have enough time really to be able to explore whether that's possible or not. So the structure of it, I'm still not 100% sure of how it works and whether the open world is separated into individual areas or you know, whether you can access anywhere at any time. I imagine you can go anywhere at any time.
It'd be a shame if not.
Yeah. One of the things that they were talking about, though, and again, this is one of those things that they kind of hinted at but not really discussed, is that you can become the Horizon champion within the main campaign, which apparently will take you between 12 to 15 hours, around that. The credits will roll. Great. You're up there with your party-loving friends.
Hooray! Party
You're the
vibes
best.
going all around.
But then they introduced something new. There's some endgame thing that lets you decide on where to take the road trip next, and that's all they've really said. But apparently it then opens up this massive part of the game once it's finished, and I don't know what it does, but they're basing it on the original, where once you'd done it there wasn't really a lot left to do other than the collectibles and things like that. And I think they're really learning from it this time to keep it alive online and give you stuff to do. So we'll wait and see what that actually involves, but apparently there's an absolute shit ton of content that, you know, could be pretty cool.
You played it on the Xbox One, right? Have you seen anything of the 360 version?
No, not yet.
Do
I
we
know
know
by the
difference is going to be like?
when you listen to this,
Yeah.
I believe there will have been an announcement about the 360 version.
Okay,
but
cool. Well, we'll have a link to that.
Yeah, yeah. One of the great things, though, and this was the true of the original ones, is the showcase events. Now, these are different type of races where you're not racing cars. You're racing other things. So in the original, you'd race, I think it was a train and a helicopter and things like that. In this one, they showed a race against a huge cargo plane that's coming in to land in an airport. And it's amazing. You drive through the city, and you work your way out into the rural areas, into this sort of airfield.
It sounds almost like a Top Gear challenge.
That is exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And I hope there are more of these than there were in the original, because they were great. And it's the fun side of it, again, you know, that will set it apart from things like Drive Club and other racers like the Crew that are coming out at a similar time.
All right, well, you played a similar amount of time with Horizon 2 and Drive Club, which you mentioned a couple of times.
Yeah.
What's that comparison looking like at the moment?
Depends what you want. If you want a pretty racer, I think Drive Club's looking prettier.
Yep. Shiny cars?
Yeah, and just in general, it just looks like it has that. It looks more next gen. But what I'm not sold on yet on Drive Club is the structure of it. I think it might be a kind of traditional, generic, complete this race, complete this race, complete this race, earn points, so you've unlocked these new races and things like that. And I think it might feel a little bit old-fashioned
almost.
Yeah, and you know what? It might not be like that, but that's the impression that I had when I played it before. Whereas Horizon 2, I think, is one of those that will maybe keep you engaged a little bit longer, purely on the content that's in there. Because both are going to rely on your friends, essentially. Like, that's the whole point of Drive Club, right? Yep.
Create a club for driving.
So, you know, Drive Club may have the longer tail if you have the friends there to support it, but I think initially, based on the content that's going to be on the disc, I think Horizon 2 may offer the more, you know, more of a better package. But, you know, we're still a month or so off from seeing both the final games, so maybe it's a bit hard to say which will be.
This is from, you know.
This is probably from preview builds. I think I found Drive Club the more exciting of the two, simply because I felt like Forza Horizon 2, I felt like I knew what to expect because I'd played through Horizon.
Sure, whereas Drive Club's something new and it's something a bit more next-gen-y.
Yeah, it feels just a little bit more exciting of the two.
Talk to me about Drivatars.
Drivatars.
They still.
What do you want to know? I mean, I've never really like.
I don't know. It's just a fun word to say every so often.
I mean, yeah, they're there.
Yeah, good.
Apparently, they make more of a difference this time because they're in an open world, just driving around, and all you might find Barry, who suddenly
your driver top
drifted into you, and you think, what a prick.
Yeah.
But it's not really Barry. It's just a virtual representation of
Barry,
his former self.
All right.
Yeah, I don't know.
Interesting mechanic.
You know, how different? Does it really make a massive
Something
difference?
to do with the clouds.
Is it not just like having AI racers and then shoving a name on them that's on your friends list?
It's nothing like that, David.
I mean, I'd love to see the inner workings of how these driver tiles are actually programmed and created, and because I don't know, man. Like Forza Motorsport 5, all they seem to do is just crash into you.
Bloody frustrating.
Which I guess is what people do in that game.
Yeah.
But they have these new things called bucket list challenges, which
not to be confused before you're 30.
Essentially, yeah. So there's 30 of them, and they're not to be confused with the showcase stuff, which is the racing planes and things like that. But yeah, there's 30 of these challenges. They're hidden around the world, and if you remember in the original Horizon, you probably won't, Braz, because you didn't play it. But people listening,
you're talking to other people, not just me, Dave.
Yeah. There were cars dotted around the game world that you could find, and you'd have to restore them. If you imagine this, but instead of the cars you need to restore them, you find the cars, and then there are specific challenges in those cars. So the ones they showed us, I think it was a rally car.
Yep.
And you had to go on this weave between trees and stuff and beat.
A rally?
Well,
I presume.
Well, I don't know if we can technically call it rally.
Okay.
Because they did introduce rally specifically as DLC in Horizon.
Oh, great.
And I'm yet to see evidence that a rally mode exists. But there was this rally car.
Yeah.
Weaving between the off-road stuff and so apparently the plan is to keep updating post-launch with more of those bucket list challenges. Whether they're paid for or not,
right.
I don't know. But yeah, the first one or the first collection of them is due a number of weeks after launch. So
I guess we'll see then. What was Horizon like for post-launch stuff? It had quite a lot of DLC, or
I think they had the cars. And then I think they had the rally expansion, which was apparently quite good, but I never got around to actually trying it.
Oh, fair enough.
We will see.
All right then. That's Forza Horizon 2 from the bit that Dave's played so far. It's
looking good. And you know what? I went into it expecting not to enjoy it as much as I did, because when I played it in shorter snippets at E3, like a 5-minute race, I was finding that I was getting... And this is another point, actually, which is probably worth pointing out, is that unlike Forza Horizon 1, the original, which was almost limited to road stuff. You couldn't go off-road. Well, you could slightly, but not really. This one is a lot more off-road, and the pathfinding of the AI, I'm still not sure about. So a lot of the times you're encouraged to drive off-road, and it's almost like a shortcut through the race. And sometimes the AI seems to do the same and drive off-road, but other times the AI seems to follow the course of the actual road, and you can just blast straight through the middle of it in a straight line. And I don't know whether that's going to be an issue, because I found a couple of times I'd gone from the back of the pack
that makes it
straight to the front
a little bit
by weaving straight through the middle of it.
Okay.
And I don't know whether that's going to be an issue or not. And the off-road stuff, it can be a bit, I don't know, I'm not sure about it yet. I'm not sure. So.
All right, but outside of that, it seems all right. Lots of party vibes, lots of young people having fun, taking drugs, driving cars, completing their bucket list challenges.
Yeah, I mean, if
you're into any of those things,
just imagine Ibiza, but with Top Gear.
Excellent.
Like in the middle of it.
That sounds like an absolutely
Doesn't that sound good?
Horrible experience.
Forza Horrible 2.
And there we are. Thank you very much, Dave.
Thank you, Christopher.
Well, that'll give you something to fiddle your diddle to, won't it? And if you want more, just subscribe.